Llévate más de lo que esperas todos los días con el nuevo McValue en McDonald's. Ahora puedes comprar uno y sumarle otro por $1. Así que cuando tu equipo favorito enfrente a sus rivales, enfrenta tus antojos con $5 Meal Deals. Y si estás corriendo para alcanzar el desayuno, corre a la app para llevarte ofertas antes del cutoff. Tú decides, y con McValue, tu decisión siempre rinde más. Precios y participación pueden variar. BOGO $1 válido para un producto de igual o menor valor. Debe estar registrado en Rewards para ofertas en el app.
Raise the rudder! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Always look to the sky. The Dr. Sky Experience is on the air. 77 WABC. Now, here's Dr. Sky.
5 minutes after the hour, welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Dr. Sky Experience as we welcome you into your Easter weekend and also the celebration, the sacred celebration of Passover. We continue here with great guests talking about the subjects, if in case you haven't tuned in before, the great subject of astronomy, space, aviation, and weather, and so much more. And also, as we shift gears from time to time, stories of American exceptionalism, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Second Amendment. And a newsworthy note right here on Talk Radio 77 WABC. I've been asked to do an extended period of this particular radio show, starting midnight on May the 3rd into Sunday morning, Eastern Daylight Time, 2 a.m. on Sundays, in which we will call the show The Other Side of Dr. Sky to separate the two brands. We'll be then talking then with detailed information and guests from American exceptionalism, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the military, and our sacred events that happen here in America with law enforcement. But ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to get in on the conversation, we encourage you to be part of this ever-growing family. The contact number is 1-800-848-9222. That's 1-800-848-9222. And if you have a question or comment well beyond the realm of this particular radio show, time-wise, email me simply at drsky@wabcradio.com. That's drsky@wabcradio.com. Folks, as we move through time and space here, we want to thank Tony, our producer, who navigates this powerful Starship radio beacon, heard as you hear all day, 24 hours, and if there were more time, many times throughout the day. The station heard proudly around the world in 173 countries, all 50 states, and I add that little extra spice, I'm probably sure, out into the cosmos. Well, who do we have for this particular part of our radio show? Actually, going old school, just like the radio show that I was servicing for 25 years, that was Coast to Coast AM, and many times would have guests that had 2-hour interviews. And certainly today, the time is well spent. As we introduced in just a moment, a gentleman known as Captain Ron Janiks. Who is he? He's the founder and co-owner of a great organization and a great event that's happening coming up about a month from now called Contact in the Desert. What's that all about? It talks about the whole ufology world. It talks about all the extraterrestrial experiences and a man who does his own podcast and is heard around the world. Let's welcome to the Dr. Sky Experience, Captain Ron. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Hey, Dr. Sky. Good to hear from you.
Well, God bless you, my friend. I appreciate this. I know we talked a long time ago about doing this. And I want to set the stage, of course, with the great information that you'll share with us. But tell us first a little bit about yourself so that people can understand who you are and the strength that you bring to this very big worldwide event, and no pun intended, extraterrestrial event called Contact in the Desert. Tell us about that.
Well, Contact in the Desert started about, let's see here, it started about 2012, 2013, and we took it over 3 years ago. So it's been going for a long time now. This will be the 11th or 12th time. This will be the 11th time it'll be happening live. And, you know, we get 2,000 people that gather out in the desert. It used to physically be in the desert, Dr. Sky. It was actually held at Joshua Tree State Park, out in the desert, literally, and they had speakers come out there and talk about these different topics. And as the event grew and as it got hotter in the desert, they moved it to the beautiful Indian Wells Resort in Indian Wells, which is out in Coachella Valley. So it's right by Palm Springs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous hotel. It's like a Vegas hotel. It's got a Vegas-style pool with waterfall and everything. It's fantastic. So what we do is we gather. We've got about 63 different speakers from around the world this year, and they talk about all these different things, and we kind of get an update on what's happening with the UFO community, the UAP community. You know, a lot's been going on since 2017. There's been more and more things happening. In fact, today they announced that there's going to be new congressional hearings at the end of April.
Awesome. That's important because if, in case they haven't seen Captain Ron, this is interesting. Tell us a little bit about the previous one, because lots of things were said, but it seemed like it kind of died or fizzled out, don't you think? Tell us about what happened then.
Well, in the congressional hearings last time, another big problem that we have is they can't say things, in that setting. So a lot of people were frustrated, as was I, when these guys come out and they say, hey, what's going on? What do you know? Well, I can't say it here. I can't say it in this setting. I can't talk about it in a public setting because of their security clearances. And David Grush came out, and that was the problem with his hearing. In November, there were some other guys that gave congressional testimony, and it was the same kind of a thing. So the good news is now Luna came out today, and she said that they are going to put these guys into a private skiff, where they can talk off record, confidentially to people in Congress.
Right, so no cell phones allowed or recording devices. Right, in there, you have to be
nothing exactly.
Secure.
So
yes,
I'm hoping in that secure setting that they will actually get some of this information to them. And, we all don't know what the government knows, but hopefully some of it will come out with something like this. At least it's a crack. We haven't really had hardly any attention paid to this by Congress in 60 years. So it's nice that now they're paying attention to it. I'm hoping that it leads to some developments.
Well, thank you for being with us. In case you're just joining us, Captain Ron Janik. He is the co-owner and producer of the Contact in the Desert and host of Beyond Contact, a well-known authority in the subject matter that we'll be talking about. And in due respect to the subject and even more to the guest, we'll continue this conversation, not for only just 1 hour, because I'm finding out that so many people email me back, Captain Ron, say, we have so many interesting guests, but so limited time. So if you have a question or comment about this entire subject, and we'll narrow it down as we go through time and space, the contact number 1-800-848-9222. Let's begin, of course, a little bit about you. Talk about yourself and how you got started in this whole subject matter, because, you woke up one day and said, I read about this stuff, whether it be from comic books and sci-fi books. Now here we are talking about a serious subject that deserves a lot of attention. What got you started in the whole subject?
What got me started was there's two big books that are really kind of the Bibles, in my view, of this. And that was Van Danigen's Chariots of the Gods, where he first proposed this idea that ancient astronauts came here to Earth. I just found that fascinating. I read that growing up, and I thought, wow. And then Communion came out in the 80s by Whitley Strieber, who claims to have had this direct experience with that famous photo on the cover of Communion of an alien gray that everybody's so familiar with today. And I found it very compelling. And then there's that Art Bell show that started in the 90s.
Yes.
And I found that very interesting. And he had a lot of interesting topics covered on that show. And I thought, why aren't we paying more attention to these type subjects? So I've always just sort of had an interest in it just because I'm curious and I like to know about what I don't know about. I don't like hearing things that I already know. So to me, it was fascinating learning about new things. And then about 12 years ago, I started a podcast with somebody else. I got on a show called Truth Be Told, and we talked about all of these different topics. And, it's one of those things, the more you get into it, the more deeper down the rabbit hole you go, because you interview different people every week. You learn more. You get more curious. And, I'm one of these guys that lives right in the middle of this. I keep a very healthy skepticism on this topic. And yet I don't feel it's right to just dismiss these people's claims or some of these military people's testimony or some of these doctors like Dr. John Mack, some of their findings. To me, I feel like that should be weighted and we should pay attention to it. So I started taking it pretty serious and luckily became part owner of Contact in the Desert. And between that and the Beyond Contact podcast, I'm knee-deep in this stuff. So
yeah, it's great.
It's
it's amazing.
I love.
Oh, I love it, too, because I think people need to hear this. And one of the main tenets of this radio show, people, of course, seem to tell me they do like it, and I appreciate the commentary. Here's the situation. We're here to do what? Not to be sounding defensive, to open our minds, right, Captain Ron, to the mysteries of the universe that we really don't know about. And just like people, I have people all the time when I do these personal seminars talking about space, astronomy, what have you. And I get so many people in the crowd now that still say to me, we never went to the moon. Then we have people who talk about a flat earth. And I'm never disrespectful to anybody, nor are you, I'm sure. But I think through programs like this, it's very important in all those aspects. So describe to us in a little more detail here. Contact in the Desert is just not a ufology seminar. It incorporates many other subsets and equal topics. Talk a little bit more about some of the things that are covered there as we get into this.
100%. We absolutely do. Like this year's main speaker is Josh Gates. He's giving our keynote. Josh Gates has a TV show on Discovery Channel called Expedition Unknown. He goes all over the world looking at all these unknown topics, from the Ark of the Covenant to, the what do you call the chalice? What do you call that?
The Ark of the Covenant, did you mention? Or no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Ark of the Covenant is the giant power thing that they had. But the chalice is called the...
I should know this.
Gosh, it's Easter weekend. How do we not know this on Easter weekend?
Yes, we'll both be drawing blanks.
The Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail, yeah, and maybe people out there will call in about this too. That would be
there. You go.
Too.
So Josh Gates explores a lot of these different unknown topics, and he's a fascinating guy, and he's been all over the world. So he's going to talk about many of the different findings that he's had. Another unique thing we're covering this year is Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell. If you're familiar with her, she's got the telepathy tapes out there right now, which is a very popular thing. And she's working with autistic children who are very, very high on the spectrum, and
yes.
They have difficulty. They're nonverbal even. They can't even speak. They are displaying actual telepathy with either their mother, their father, a caregiver, and they think that what happens is a child's brain between 0 and 2 develops, and these children are so much on the spectrum that they don't know that they have arms and hands, which is a hard thing for me to grasp. It's almost like a Helen Keller sort of a situation where these children don't understand that, so they don't know how to put their hands up and reach for, I need milk, I need food. So they concentrate, and somehow they put that thought in the mother's mind. And they are demonstrating this ability to actually have a telepathic communication. And it's incredible. She's another Harvard doctor that's been working on this. She's been studying it for around 15 years.
Sure.
And it's absolutely incredible. This is the kind of thing that is at the forefront to me of this kind of a thing. I think it's fantastic.
It is, and there's so much to talk about, so limited time here. Again, 1-800-848-9222, the subjects that we'll cover for the remaining portion of this particular show, which is 2 hours proudly here on Talk Radio 77 WABC. We encourage you to get in with your questions and comments, but before we go to that hard break at the bottom of the hour, I wanted to ask you, this is a weak spot, and I'm always honest with the audience, in my knowledge base of something in this particular subject matter. Captain Ron, talk to us in some detail about the concept here, or this place called Skinwalker Ranch. I've never really quite understood it, and never really had anybody who could explain it to me in what I considered to be something that made sense. Please tell us about that.
Well, yeah, I'm probably not the right guy for that either, Dr. Sky. I'll tell you. It's one of these unique places. There's a lot of them. They're called hotspots. There's all kinds of phenomenon that happen at Skinwalker Ranch. Last year we had Dwayne Ollinger, the owner of Blind Frog Ranch, which is adjacent to Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, and they've had strange happenings. So I don't know what it is. I don't know. We hear about it that it's been there going on for years and years. Is it a spiritual hotspot? Is it truly an alien hotspot? You know, who knows what it is? But there's many different claims of different anomalies that happen at both of these properties and several other throughout the United States. It's funny how it seems to be coming up at these different ranches. There's the Bradshaw Ranch. There's a whole variety of these that seem to be having different strangeness.
Maybe some sort of poltergeist event, but again, I'm not qualified to talk about it, but I appreciate your honesty.
Me neither, but these things have been going on for years. They used to call it like the djinn. People would experience it, which became genie, and they would have these, I think all of these phenomenon may be interrelated, maybe contacting the dead or spirits or religious figures and alien beings and the jinn and genies. Maybe all of these things are intertwined somehow. It's just something beyond our comprehension at this point. We just don't know what it is yet.
Well, Captain Ron, you're lighting up the phone lines here. Let's say good morning to Kevin in Boston. Kevin, good morning. Thank you for being with us. You're on with Captain Ron. Your question or comment?
I want to say with Captain Ron and both you, Dr. Sky, I mean, you people are just the physicians of our universe, and it is my privilege. I'm calling you from Lexington. We're upon our 250th anniversary, so in a few hours' time, we're going to have the reenactment, and I love what you said about the celebration of Passover and Easter, and where even the Orthodox comes together, and I believe when the cosmos to this great nation of ours. But the questions I have, what I found so fascinating, on Christmas Eve, 2024, just not 3 months ago, you had the Parker probe that passed through on the 22nd orbit, passing through the plasma of the sun, and the closest it's ever been. Here it is, a human product vehicle made, and 3 days later, I believe it was Sunday on the 28th of December, it sent back a signal and survived. As with this week, I read about a satellite that was sent off. I believe it was labeled and named after the Apollos. They lost contact. Here it is. It said that it's left our orbit. It was launched in 1977. How they were able to correct.
Well, this is amazing. No, Kevin, you're absolutely right. But I wanted to jump in. Excuse me for jumping back in here, but I just wanted to say something before we give Captain Ron an opportunity. The Parker Solar Probe is quite amazing. It's the fastest product out there, spacecraft, I should say, that humans have ever created, passing the sun at over 450,000 miles per hour. But Captain Ron, your take on some of the things that Kevin's talking about. And Kevin, thank you for the kind comments to both of us.
Yeah, those are a bit out of my purview, but I'll tell you what, the fact that you just said it goes 450,000 miles an hour, isn't that alone incredible? Like some of the mainstream science stuff to me is as fascinating as the paranormal stuff.
It is. And Kevin, if you're still with us, you get the last word on this because, let me say something. The mysteries, and I don't mean to be overly repetitive here on this radio show, but every day we're hearing about, people with their feet on the ground talking about the political structure of the world. All very important, what we talk about. But the mysteries that are above us, I think that gives us a little bit of a reprieve. And then we're going back to the thing. But, Kevin, your last comment to anything or last question?
I'll say this. What also I found fascinating, what they discovered by the Parker satellite probe when it passed through, that the outer dimension of the sun, and you're talking hundreds and hundreds, thousands of miles, is hotter on the outside than the mantle of the surface of the sun itself.
You're absolutely right, Kevin. No, and here it is in a nutshell, a little 101 for all the audience, and Captain Ron jump in too, that the whole story of the sun is the surface temperature is some 12,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Ouch. Then you go to a layer out beyond that called the corona, and the biggest mystery in solar physics right now, and nobody seems to understand it, why is the solar corona, that outer thing you see during a total solar eclipse, millions of degrees in temperature away from the surface of the sun, and it's due to something. Now this is going to maybe drive people crazy, or hopefully to investigate magnetothermohydrodynamics. There's such a thing in which shock waves come out of the sun, and I'll be darned, I don't know exactly the process. Captain Ron, any thoughts from you on this? Because this is really stuff that's beyond rocket science.
Yeah, way beyond my education. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you what, though, if you ever have a fire in front of you, you can put your hand in the fire, and it's barely warm. But if you put your hand above the fire, it's extremely hot. I wonder if it's similar.
It could be. And again, this is one of the great mysteries. And I'm saying, let me say this, folks. If we have one person out there who's listening, no matter what age you are, obviously the age of where you can recognize what's happening, if they go to school, let's say, Ron and Kevin, to learn this, and they say, you know something, not only because we heard Captain Ron and Dr. Sky here, but we've felt some kind of interest in this, just like you started, Captain Ron. Something motivated you to do this. And Kevin, I know we got to go here, but I wish you and your family the best of these particular holidays, Passover and Easter, and I hope you'll continue to join our family here on the Dr. Sky Experience as we talk here on this great powerhouse radio station, 77 WABC. Thank you, Kevin, for being with us. You know, I want to go, Captain Ron. We're almost at the bottom of the hour here with the hard break, but there's so much to talk about here, and I want to get back into your area of specific expertise and talking about these different encounters that people have had. I was very fortunate during college days and beyond to have actual contact with Barney and Betty Hill's story, with the Betty Hill side of the story. But I want you to go into some detail. I mean, some of these experiences, share with us before we go to that break, of actual contact with individuals that are not necessarily from this world. Who knows? Maybe they're from the future. Maybe they're from other locations in the universe. But what experience have you had? We're talking to people who have had this.
Well, I haven't had any, but I, of course, have talked to many, many people who have. And what's fascinating is even somebody as famous as, let's say, a Whitley Strieber, the man who wrote Communion and is known as like the alien guy because he has the famous alien gray in the cover. He has never himself called it alien. And he always gets frustrated that people call him the alien guy because he says, I don't know what it is. He chooses to call them the visitors. Because to him, he's just like, I don't know what this is. And there's been a new term. I don't know if you've heard this, Dr. Sky, but the new way we're talking about this, the vernacular people are using, is non-human intelligence.
Wow.
Because that encompasses a lot of these things.
You bet.
People are having experiences with non-human intelligences. And I think that's a great way to call it that because we don't know what it is. And it could be a variety of these things. It may be all of the above.
You're exactly right. And that's what's so fascinating about this. As we go about our busy lives every day, everything's important to us, right? And we have our jobs, we have our families. We love that. We love what we do, hopefully. But the mysteries that are out there are just so incredible because we're here for such a short time. It's like a mayfly, the insect. It lives for a very short time in the cosmic scale. What's our lifetime, right, Captain Ron? A very short time.
That's exactly how I feel. I feel like I want to know some of these answers before I go. That's what drives me.
Yes. And one of the things I want to get, and I'm sure we'll get it not only out of you, but hopefully the callers at 1-800-848-9222 with these questions about things that are different than what we go about in our normal solar day. When the sun's up and our lives continue, these are the things that we look at. And what did Carl Sagan actually say, Captain Ron? We are the pale blue dot in this vast expanse of a universe. And we simply know this. Everybody out there I'm sure knows it. We have yet to find any, quote, intelligence that replicates anything like we have here. But you brought up something interesting, and we're going to get into that, too, in great depth. The possibility that maybe some of these extraterrestrial civilizations are not the ones that are actually visiting us, but some sort of an AI device, as if we would talk about a modern-day, robot or something like that. Many people say that they may not necessarily be the actual source of the extraterrestrials. What say you before we shut it down for just a few moments?
Oh, very much so. I think look, we already sent probes out there, right? We already have sent the Voyager 1 and 2. And now that we're on the cusp of this artificial intelligence that we're developing, that is exactly what we're going to be sending out into the universe any minute now. We're going to be sending probes. We're going to be sending artificial intelligence. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't eat. It doesn't get sick. It doesn't die. It works 24/7. Why would another civilization not do the same thing? So I always speculate that most likely the first encounter we will have officially, even though people have already claimed to have had these encounters, the official thing would be some form of AI that we sent out interacting with AI that's sent out from another civilization.
Correct.
That's most likely what they sent out.
Captain Ron will be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. Don't touch that dial, as they say for so many times in the world of radio and even in television. 1-800-848-9222. Our special guest is Captain Ron, the co-owner and producer of the Contact in the Desert and host of Beyond Contact. Contact in the Desert, ladies and gentlemen, begins May 29th through June 2nd, and it's located and it's happening at this amazing location in Indian Wells, California, the Renaissance Esmeralda Resort and Spa. A great place to go if you're, no matter where you're listening to us. And we'll be right back after these important announcements that keep the radio station and show moving through time and space. At 32 minutes after the hour, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dr. Sky Experience. Yes, Shirley MacLaine, Emmy Award winner, and, of course, talks with us about the same theme that we talk about here all the time. Always remember to keep your eyes to the skies. As we continue here in hour number one, our very special guest, all are very special and important not only to myself, but to the audience out there, Captain Ron, the co-owner, producer of Contact in the Desert, and host of Beyond Contact. Captain Ron, we've got a number of people that I'm sure would like to ask questions of you. So let's say good morning to Andrew in the town in New Jersey that's named after the eighth planet, Neptune. Good morning, Andrew. How are you today?
Nice. Yes, most certainly it sure is. Listen, I never believed in aliens, but after, during your program, I must tell you that, as far as experiencing hearing voices and someone disseminating messages and not knowing where they're coming from, hopefully you don't mind me bringing that up on the weekend. I would just like to know more. What can you tell me?
Well, Captain Ron, you're the center of the focus of attention for the hour or two, so why don't you jump in on that, please?
What can I tell you about hearing voices from beings? Is that what you're asking?
I think that's what he's asking.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty. I don't know these answers, and I'm pretty open to what it could be. As we discussed earlier, these things have been going on for literally centuries. There's been reports around the world that people had experiences talking to beings they called the jinn. There's been people that have claimed to talk to lost loved ones. People have had religious encounters. I think a lot of these things are probably happening, but people are seeing it through their own lens. So somebody that's maybe really religious would say that, I had an angel appear before me. And another person might say, I had a fairy or a pixie.
Exactly.
Or whatever, right. Based on your time, when you live, what your culture is. And now today in the space age, we say alien. That's what people tend to report. And then plus they have the spaceship thing. So today, people claim to have been taken aboard these ships. That seems alien. Now, are they coming across the universe? Are they coming from bases here on Earth? Are they coming from God knows where? We don't know what's really happening. They think it could be interdimensional. That's another front-running theory, that people think it may not even be traveling across space. They're traveling interdimensionally.
Totally amazing.
Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Andrew, you have a follow-up before we move forward? The lines are getting busy, but we appreciate you.
Yeah, I really appreciate your spiritual guidance, and I know that, if there's anyone to ask, never mind as a diagnosis, but if there's anyone to ask, that you're one of the people that really, have to be taken seriously in an effort to get your peace of mind back, or, some of the problems that I'm dealing with. So, listen, I really enjoy. I have to listen some more, and thank you kindly, for all your wisdom,
Well, happy holiday weekend, Andrew. I hope you stay with us throughout the time and space as we continue to build new listeners and become part of this family. Thank you for your time. Let's continue with the callers here, because I have so many questions of Captain Ron and more information, of course, for you, the listening audience about Contact in the Desert. We say good morning to Mark in Hawthorne, New Jersey. Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm good, thank you. I'm soon to be 78 years old. I've been involved with the alien thing in terms of believability since, like the movie Invaders from Mars and War of the Worlds. I go back that far. However, the two experiences of a different nature. First one was, I'm 70. I guess I was about 40-some years old. My daughter would have been 18 or so. In Hawthorne, we were looking towards Connecticut, the northeast, about 2 in the morning. I forget why we went out that particular night. It was near I forget that one thing. Well, anyway, here's what happened. We were looking up in the sky in that direction, and everything, it was like 1,000, and I'm not embellishing over this, it was like 1,000 Macy's Day parades. The sky all in front of us to the left and to the right. I never got to turn around. Like it blew up with all beautiful colors and stuff like that. It lasted 8 to, I'd say, 12 seconds, and it was gone. And I was never able to find out about it, what it might have been, this, that, and the other thing. That was one thing. And then the other thing, real quick, was supposedly some of the aliens are, for better or worse, katydids or praying mantises. In my house about 10 years ago, there was a praying mantis, which you don't see them that many times in your life. One just before I went on vacation to go down to Jersey Shore, there was a praying mantis. I saw it, and I let him loose and stuff. You know, they had a thing, $50 if it killed a praying mantis, whatever. And then, and as we know, supposedly, I think I might have said this, but some of the aliens are supposed to be praying mantises. Then I get to the Jersey Shore, and I get into the place that we're staying, and it was a different size, and yet another praying mantis. I have all this in the last 10 years, so much synchronicity. I don't know. I've never heard this before, but I don't know if I get it from these people or what's coming in. But and I've had several other things. For instance, once I.
So you've had encounters, and I don't mean to cut you short there. Stay with us on this for just a moment, Mark, because I want Captain Ron to jump in. You're describing a whole bunch of scenarios
here. The story, with the exception of, for instance, the word Wilbur. I was out of thing just 2 weeks ago. The name Wilbur came up. I go into the next room, and there's a bottle with the name Wilbur. Wilbur isn't something you hear other than Mr. Ed in 100 years. But anyway, I'm done talking, and I'll wait to hear your answer.
No, just stay with us for a minute. Captain Ron, jump in on this, because we have a multitude of sightings.
That's all of those things are great. So the first thing, seeing all those things, exactly. We don't know. You saw this incredible thing, lasted 8 to 12 seconds. Something's going on. It's hard to say, okay, that was alien. Okay, that was a spaceship. We don't know what that was. You don't know what that was. Nobody does. But this is why we need more scientific investigation to cases just like this, so we can determine, is that an atmospheric phenomenon? Is that something from the outer space? Is that alien? Is it, it's so easy to not have the answer right away, so people jump to alien. We don't know that that's what's going on, and it warrants more scientific investigation. Number two,
Mark,
the praying mantis thing is really interesting that you saw that.
Go ahead, Captain Ron. Yes.
Oh, sorry. That praying mantis, oftentimes people describe different beings that they see. And the most common, of course, is the alien gray that you see in all the movies and all the covers. But another one is a praying mantis-looking being that they call mantis beings. There's tall whites, there's reptilians, there's all these different sort of races of aliens people claim to have had experiences with. So it's very interesting that you saw a praying mantis in conjunction with the synchronicity, which is my personal favorite topic. And it is these two connected things. It's Carl Jung was the guy who coined synchronicity. And it's when you have a profound coincidence that is very specific to your life. And it reminds you that maybe all of our things are interconnected, that we may all be interconnected to one another and everything in the universe, which many people do believe.
Absolutely. Mark and Hawthorne, I want to ask later on in the program, we're going to continue into hour number 2 with our special guest, Captain Ron, co-owner, producer of the Contact in the Desert, which is coming up here, and host of the Beyond Contact podcast. But I'm going to go and talk with him a little more. But I want to just throw this out, Mark, if you're still with us. We want to talk more about the sightings that people have seen in the New York metropolitan area of these strange drones that still there's no answer. Even the Trump administration said nothing to worry about. There's something going on with research. We still need to know more answers on this. So thank you, Mark, in Hawthorne, New Jersey, for being with us on this. Hope you become a regular as this family continues to grow on stories that are opening up our minds and hoping we're doing a good job. I think we are. Captain Ron, this is fascinating. I want you to give us a quick take on what do you think's been going on here in the Northeast? I mean, this is probably the most practical part and end of what I consider to be the tip of the spear when we talk about this, about these UAP and drone sightings in the New York area. Totally amazing.
100%.
Nobody knows.
I don't think this has anything whatsoever to do with UAPs or UFOs or alien spacecraft or anything like that. They seem to have the lights that we would have required to have them on. They seem to exhibit human behaviors. They can only last so long. I feel most likely the best explanation I've heard for this is that they're military drones, which would make sense because they've been seen over military bases and over airports, which there's no way a commercial drone that we could buy would do that. But these military drones could do that. Now, it's very possible these military drones have the ability to detect, let's say, a dirty bomb, nuclear waste, something like that, which maybe went missing. So if that's out there, they're not going to come out and say, oh, yeah, we're looking for a dirty bomb in your city. Nobody wants to hear that. That's going to incite panic. So they're not going to say that. So most likely, in my view, it's something like that, a military drone searching for something like a dirty bomb or searching for something that
you're exactly right.
They don't want people knowing about. Yeah,
Captain Ron, you're right. I'm going to turn up my volume. We want to hear the truth about this whole UFO UAP experience. And I'm saying this not to get angry here. Certainly that's not my, in my wheelhouse at all. But damn it, we need to know what is really going on. From the stories that we're going to talk about in hour number 2, an Italian, was alleged UFO in 1933 that was captured by the American and Italian government, military-wise, to Roswell, which I've spoken at many, many times, and I'm sure you've been involved heavily. We just need to hear the answers to this. And it seems like a never-ending, it's a circus. It just never seems to come to any kind of contact, fruition. Where's the piece of a UFO? Show us the body. Let's hear about this. What's the big secret? And ladies and gentlemen, as I calm down, we'll continue on the other side of these breaks as we continue to talk with Captain Ron. Proud to have him and call him a friend here because we'll be calling on him a lot. Who is he, in case you're just joining us? Co-owner and producer of the Contact in the Desert, an amazing gathering of those people who have an open mind and host of Beyond Contact. And if you're on the line, we'll be going to you as many as we can get because we're doing this for 2 hours, so there's no excuse for me not to try to get everyone who values the time that our guest has and wants to talk and ask some questions. We'll be right back after these announcements.
The Dr. Sky Experience is on the air. 77 WABC. Now, here's Dr. Sky.
And remember, gravity is the warpage of space-time. And we're with you at 47 minutes after the hour.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay. With experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
Go further with the American Express Business Gold Card. Earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels when you book through AmexTravel.com. Whether your destination is a business conference or a client meeting, your purchases will help you earn more points for future trips. Experience more on your travels with Amex Business Gold. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
By the time I hit my 50s, I'd learned a few things, like how family is precious. Work can always wait. And 99% of people over 50 already have the virus that causes shingles. Not everyone at risk will develop it, but I did. The painful, blistering rash disrupted my life for weeks. Don't learn about your shingles risk the hard way. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today. Sponsored by GSK.
Moving toward the top of the hour, our special guest, Captain Ron, co-owner proudly and producer of the Contact in the Desert event that's coming up here in California very soon, next month to be exact, and we'll be talking with him in hour number 2 also. By the popularity of our guest here, let's continue with our callers. Let's go to Jim in Long Island. If you're still with us, Jim, good morning. How are you this Easter and Passover weekend?
Good morning, yes. And happy Easter to you, too.
Thank you, sir.
My point is going to be that a lot of people don't realize that we're an evolving species. I think that we started about 6 million years ago, but we're evolving. And with this overflow of information that we have now, our brain isn't really, capable of handling it all. They can't tell what's true and not true.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And that's the problem right now. And, we're just like any other species that, if we don't, find out the answers to these problems, we're going to be extinct.
We sure are. And, just to add to the conversation here, Jim, we've had 5 major extinctions in the course of history. We know the last one with the big dinosaur event 65 million years ago. But it seems that there's a resilience with life on Earth that it returns. But let's not count our chickens before they hatch or eggs before they hatch, because we need to continue with this species. And let Captain Ron jump in on this, because he's got this very wide, broad knowledge base with all these people that he pulls together. What say you to Jim in the Island?
Well, 2 things I would say is, number one, I think we've got down to, I don't know the exact number, but I think it's between like 10 and 12,000 human beings left on Earth at one point, which is hard to believe that we got back up to whatever we're at now, which is, I think, approaching 8 billion. So, we were damn near extinct already ourselves, so it's an incredible thing that we survived that. As far as the belief thing, here's the problem. We are on the cusp of AI, as we talked about earlier. Now we are going to see a flood of fake UFO videos, fake UFO pictures, fake UFO stories, and the waters are going to get way more muddy than they've ever been, and it's going to be harder to tell. It's difficult now to determine what's real, what's not real. Can you assign that to alien or UFO? Now, with AI, it's going to become even more difficult. I think it's going to be a mess going forward.
How right you are. Jim, final comment as we move along? Anything you'd like to add?
I think that's the problem, is that people listen to the Internet and they don't know whether it's, what's true and what's not. And their brains can't really, they can't digest it.
Well said, I should say. Thank you so much for calling us. A great weekend for you, and hopefully you'll continue to join this growing family. Let's see if we can get another couple of the phone calls in to the top of the hour. Let's welcome Jason in the great state of Nebraska. And what do we say to Nebraskans? Go Big Red, right, Jason, if you're with us?
Absolutely, that's right. Hey, absolute pleasure talking to you, Dr. Sky.
Thank you.
And your guest. A million questions, but since you just mentioned the Passover weekend, I base my question somewhat around that. Lucifer, angel of light, king of the sky, what do either one of you discount the theory that he has the power and ability for this all to be one big trick and illusion by him, which my opinion is yes.
Interesting. You mean like artificial reality or something like that? Like something like The Matrix, where something is contrived or artificial, that from what we consider reality, this is an artificial reality? Is that what you're trying to ask about?
I would say the UFOs, aliens specifically, but any tool as smart as he is to use would be in that line, in my opinion. But just want to know what you guys were.
Well, let me move that over to Captain Ron, because he's got this diverse experience of not only his own experiences, but all the people that he pulls together. So he's a great resource. Captain Ron, your comment to Jason?
Well, again, it's hard to, how could we possibly know if that's true or not? We can't. So I think people, again, each use their own belief system and their own background to come up with an idea like that. Now, an interesting thing you're touching on here is this other idea that we're living in a simulated universe. We now have the technology to build these worlds online, and there's been this theory that we are living in a simulated reality right now ourselves. Forget religion, forget aliens, forget dimensions, that the actual existence that we have is, in fact, just a simulation. And there are millions of simulations running at the same time somewhere out there. That's a tough one to swallow.
It is amazing, and I recommend a book here. We had him on one of my other programs, a gentleman by the name of Rizwan Virk, V-I-R-K. He's the author of a book called The Simulation Hypothesis. And not only is he a very successful billionaire businessman in the gaming world, his main tenet and his theory is, you're right, that we're living in an entire simulation like The Matrix, which sounds so unbelievable to most people, because you get up and think you have the free will, which apparently it seems like we do, but that really that's not true, that something behind that curtain is running everything.
And, Dr. Sky, to take it a step further, there's things in quantum mechanics that do play out with this. Like there's this belief that nothing happens until the observer effect is a strong component of this idea.
Amen.
Burke's going to be at Contact in the Desert, by the way.
Oh, wow.
They're talking about his theory.
So he gets extra promotion on the program. There you go. I love it.
He gets an extra plug. And,
there you go.
The idea within quantum mechanics that the observer theory that something doesn't exist until it's observed, this is in mainstream science. This is a belief. This is a tenet. And that's the idea about we see these other universes as we put a telescope up, then they become rendered, just like they would, like if you're playing a video game, something that's just off the screen isn't rendered yet until, it comes into view while you're playing, then it becomes rendered through the computer. And Rizwan's idea is that that's actually what's happening here in our existence.
Totally amazing. Jason, if you're with us in Nebraska, a quick closing comment from you as we move to the top of the hour. Go. Well, thank you, Jason, in Nebraska, for being with us. So Captain Ron, this is so interesting as we move on here. Let's see if we can take one more call before we go to the top. Let's welcome and say good morning to Bill in New Haven, Connecticut. Good morning and happy weekend to you. How are you?
Can you hear me?
I sure can.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, this has been a hobby for me, I bet you 40 years. And I'm 81 years old, and believe me, I've uncovered wealths of information. I met pretty much all the guests, from Knapp to Wendell Stevens and everybody going to the seminars. And I saw 2 UFOs, one in the town of Woodbridge, Connecticut, going back in 1963. There were about 30 of us, so it wasn't a hallucination. But we didn't see any occupants. It was a UFO up about 2,000 or 3,000 feet. It was metal, shaped like a nickel, that color, and it was stationary. I left after about 40 minutes of watching. I just got tired. But the thing, they told me, was there at least a couple hours, just hovering, and and it was stationary because the clouds were moving.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying? So then you knew. The other thing I saw was the Kecksburg one. Well, I didn't see it when it landed in Pennsylvania, but I did see it when it was flying, I think they said from Canada, across the ocean, the beach area in West Haven, Connecticut. And it was an incredible sight to see. I mean, there was this huge ball of flame with a tail. I mean, the thing was so close, it was colossal. It was the size of a 3-family house, the flame itself, you know.
Bill, you have some great experiences. I wish we had more time, but the Kecksburg one, you know, I'd like to, maybe why don't you do this if you want to call back in the next hour, because I want to ask you more about that, too. And I'm sure Captain Ron, because that's a famous story. This,
that's all I saw. It was heading in the Pennsylvania direction, but I never.
Amazing.
I don't have any other information on that at all. So,
well, thank you. Thank you for being with us, Bill. I appreciate it. Let Captain Ron, of course, take us to the top of the hour. All these subjects are amazing, and just by the mere popularity, right, Captain Ron, these subjects obviously trying to open up people's minds, not by a crowbar. Listen to the stories that we're hearing from people who actually have had sightings, and all these people out there, like I say, they have interesting things to talk about. But you get the last word as we go to the top of the hour. What say you?
There's no question about it. They're fascinating stories, and you hear these things. So that happened 40 years ago, his mass sighting. Now, is it possible that our military or another military has developed craft like that 40 years ago? Seems hard to believe, but then again, maybe it's possible. Maybe they are so far advanced. You know, we hear that by the time we see a plane, a military plane, it's 20 years obsolete already anyway. So that's a possible option for what we're seeing.
Quite fascinating. I mean, this is just an important subject here. So tell us again, how can people get in touch with you as we move into the next hour here? We have so many questions I'm sure that people want to maybe go into deeper conversation with.
Yeah, brother, everything's at contactinthedesert.com. Beyond Contact, my podcast is on there. Contact in the Desert, all of our socials are on there. You can always reach us, and there's a lot of information. We have a captain's log on there where we write little stories about what's happening in the UFO world as well.
Fascinating. This is just an amazing night here, an amazing morning. So wherever, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to us here on this big powerhouse blowtorch that goes all over the world, you're listening to 77 WABC with the Dr. Sky Experience. More as we continue on the other side of these breaks, as we move into your Easter weekend and Passover weekend. A joyous, peaceful, and yet relaxing weekend is what we wish for you. We'll be right back.
Your snacking routine can get a little dull. Time for an Oikos Remix. Like a crunchy storm of sea salt praline pretzels, dark chocolate, and butter toffee, showering down into a smooth, creamy yogurt. Enjoy 3 Oikos Remix varieties with epic mix-ins and 11 grams of complete protein per 4.5-ounce serving. See RemixYogurt.com.
So good, so good, so good.
Great gifts for mom? We've got them. And they're up to 60% off at Nordstrom Rack stores now.
You know they have Marc Jacobs?
Gotta show mom some love.
That is so good.
Snag amazing deals on Mother's Day gifts from Barefoot Dreams, Kate Spade New York, and more. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
We're shipping Mother's Day gifts with a rapid-fire round of questions. Ready?
Yes, my gift. Can you pack it?
Yep.
Ship it?
Yes.
Guarantee it?
Of course.
Oh, send gift baskets?
For sure.
Protect electronics? Dog-proof it? Return it if they hate it?
Yes, no, and yeah.
Are you the UPS store?
Hey, we have a winner!
Visit the upsstore.com/guarantee for full details. Most locations are independently owned. Product services, prices, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Visit a store today.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Can we sleep cooler? Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. And now get early access to Memorial Day deals. Save 30% on our most popular smart bed, i8. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Always look to the sky. The Dr. Sky Experience is on the air. 77 WABC. Now, here's Dr. Sky.
The universe is not obliged to conform to whatever we consider comfortable or even plausible. A quote from Carl Sagan. As it sets the stage for hour number 2 of the Dr. Sky Experience, always great guests as you tell us, and more to come. With us for the remaining portion, at least the 30 minutes of this particular hour, is Captain Ron, the co-owner and producer of Contact in the Desert, the host of Beyond Contact. He is responsible for gathering so many people from the world of ufology and so many other related subjects with the great event that's coming about a month from now, Contact in the Desert, and he'll tell you more about that. Let's continue, Captain Ron. We're talking about so many of these different individual sightings. People are testifying all over the place that they've seen stuff. And what I try to do, not that I'm more important than anybody in this field, hardly, is when I do my seminars, I try to say to people, how can we become better sky watchers? So what we do is we educate them on the roadmap of the heavens so that they can identify stars from planets. And Venus, of course, gets often so much reported as a UFO. And folks, if you're listening and watching, of course, in the early morning, this Easter weekend, just before sunrise, the blazing ball of light in the east is the planet Venus. But if you didn't know that, you might think it's a UFO, which you'd probably be right if you don't know. But Captain Ron, talk to us about some of these different sightings. I mean, let's go back to what one of the gentlemen was talking about, the Kecksburg, Pennsylvania sighting, something that looked like a acorn or something like that. This gentleman testified. A little bit of background to this. I mean, something that was supposedly recovered. What do we know about this, Captain Ron, Kecksburg?
Yeah, that's an older case, but it's, again, like you mentioned, Dr. Sky, it is a famous case. And there's many of these cases. That's a unique one because of the uniquely shaped craft. Like you said, it's an acorn shape. And we hear all kinds of different shapes. The classic flying saucer from the 50s, triangles, flying Vs, cigar shape, many different kinds of UFO sightings. And, you know, many of them have different varying degrees. In 1998, we had the Phoenix Lights. And how many people saw that? Thousands, right?
I wish we had 4 hours to talk about that, because here's my quick take on it. And maybe somebody listening out there in cyberspace, as the signal bounces off the internet, and off the ionosphere, it's incredible. I was getting phone calls like by the hundreds, literally overnight, and I kept telling people I didn't see it. But Captain Ron, that's still one of the most mysterious things ever in one of the largest cities in this country or in the world. So that's bizarre, isn't it? That nobody really knows what that thing was.
You know, if that would have happened now, you know, we didn't all have cameras in our pocket back then.
Right.
Exactly. We all do now. If that happened today, Dr. Sky, there'd be hours of footage online. So I think the next time we get a big sighting like that, the good news is we'll have a lot more coverage of it. Imagine with today's social media and everybody having a camera in their pocket, none of this was here in 1998. Yes, sir.
Would be able to identify and fingerprint the aliens as they come out. But interestingly enough, the phone lines are still rocking here, brother. So let's say hello to Detective Nolan. Good morning, sir. Happy Easter weekend, and pass over to you. And your question or comment, sir. Go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen, and the same to you. I have a concern that as we develop AI, artificial intelligence, 3 movies come to mind, or 3 series come to mind. The Terminator, iRobot, and there's one other one that I can't recall right now. The Matrix. And my question is that here we are creating AI, and it always results that the AI decides that we need to go. Why is that? Why is that message being forecast for us?
Good question, Detective. Hey, Ron, that's probably one of the most interesting concerns that I've heard in a long time. What say you?
It is. Well, we have a lot of people that talk about AI at Contact in the Desert, and they don't take that view at all. We hear that a lot of times in science fiction and whatnot, but none of the experts have I ever heard express anything like that. There are other concerns about AI, but nothing like that do they see it even possible, according to them.
Amazing. That is incredible. Detective, a follow-up from you. I mean, the subject is so far and wide, and it seems like nobody has any answers to this, but that's why we're doing shows like this. Your comment, sir?
Well, the one other movie that comes to mind also that's the opposite of that would be Contact, where that shows an inspiration where we are looking forward and it's promising and progressive. But just a thought, just thoughts.
Detective, appreciate it. And thank you for being part of our experience here as we continue with great guests, as people like yourself are telling us. And again, if you'd like to send me an email, you can do that. It's just DRSKY, Dr. Sky at WABCRadio.com. And check the Dr. Sky Experience podcast as you search through this particular radio station, Red Apple Media, and also directly off of the WABCRadio.com website. Always interesting information. And what I'm proud of doing here, Captain Ron, and is trying to give everybody a synopsis of what's visible in the heavens so that they can actually identify and go out there and see the difference between something shooting across the sky, which may be, let's say, Southwest or United Airlines or your favorite airline's airliner moving through, the local airspace with blinking lights or not, from those are planets, stars, and things. Don't you think, Captain Ron? It helps to identify what the known objects could be versus the things that we're talking about, which are still yet
100%, Dr. Sky. That's fabulous work that you're doing. I love it. I think it's really important. Mark D'Antonio, our astronomer that comes out to Contact in the Desert, he does the exact same thing. And his idea is, look, you got to know what you're looking at to know what you're not looking at, if you know what I mean.
Totally incredible.
And
you say
Starlink is the big problem, too, because that's a unique thing that people see. That's not just like Venus, which is stationary. Venus, as you said, is often misidentified as a UFO. Starlink is another one. As they launch these satellites, people oftentimes report UFOs. And it's just like, I don't like how people jump to alien. How about, hey, I don't know what that is. Why do we start with alien,
And on the Starlink thing, not to take time from anybody here, because the callers are hitting hard and heavy, and we appreciate it. One night we're out in the desert doing something with people with the telescopes, and somebody taps me on the shoulder and goes, "What's that?" And I look up, and I really didn't know, but what we now know what it was a train of Starlink satellites. And if anybody has or hasn't seen these, just know that these things look like little pieces of pearl, pearl on a string, and they're moving in a straight line. Now, who the heck would not think that that's something from another world, which is amazing. But here we go. Captain Ron, let's say hello and good morning to Joseph in New Jersey. Thanks for being with us. Good morning. How are you?
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my call, because I have a real good one. Back in the 70s, in North Hudson County Park, New Jersey, there was a craft that landed. And all the people, there's an apartment house there called the Stonehenge.
Yes.
Bud Hopkins came up there to investigate. And I took a ride up, too, and I talked to the doorman, and he said that it was a craft that landed in the ball field. And they shot a beam of light, and it broke the glass on the window. So I was curious on the door, on the front door of the building. And they claim that the people were like 2.5 feet tall. I imagine you must know about this. This is recorded in the police department of North Bergen, too. So if you just want to check it out.
Joseph, you were so right. And I knew a guy, excuse me for jumping in on this, I knew a guy who talked about this, and we interviewed him way back in the 1980s on this whole subject. But Captain Ron, this is a great story. Are you familiar with what Joseph's talking about at all? I mean, this is fascinating.
Yes, sir.
Please go on.
It's an incredible story, and we've heard that before, and there's been various other police reports that have been taken about these similar accounts. And yes, the beings tend to be, 2.5, 3.5, 4 feet tall. That is a common thing. So, what adds strength to me, Dr. Sky, is when we do hear the same information repeated over and over, because it becomes much more credible that way, right?
It sure does, and it's a mystery. Joseph, you get the last word if you're still with us, because this is fascinating. What else can you briefly tell us about that experience?
Well, I'm glad you took the call, because I don't know if you knew about it, but I'm so glad that you're familiar with it. Yeah, I'm satisfied. I listen to you on the owner's program once in a while. You come on.
Yes, thank you so much. Katz and Cosby and the Katz Roundtable. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Very interesting. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Joseph. You have a great weekend. Let's continue with the callers. They're coming in hot and heavy here. Let's say good morning to Alec in Queens, New York. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, good morning, Dr. Sky. 2 points quickly. my theory goes that the number of planets in the galaxy, the number of inhabited planets in the galaxy is not that expansive as one might think. If you go back to the early astrophysicists and their theories, such as Siegel, Barnard, and so on. But my point is this. I believe that there is a continuity between all intelligent life forms, that they are basically humanoid in appearance. They would have to have hands and eyes and such in a normal manner, stereoscopically, to produce the technologies. And they would also have to intone a good knowledge, a working, gradual learning of science.
Wow.
But this all this mumbo jumbo with ETs and ATs and monsters and such, this is stupidity. My second point, please.
Okay.
The analogy between the solar system, our solar system of planets and the central sun, is very much parallel, extremely parallel, though on a macroscopic scale, to the atom. The large, let's say, a heavy metal atom.
Correct.
You have the K, L, M, N orbits and such. You know what I'm saying?
I do. In other words, what you're saying, and I want Captain Ron to jump in on this. He's our guest. But in the world, ladies and gentlemen, of atomics, if you look at the atom, it's very similar because look at planetary systems. They're around what? The sun is the planetary objects move around the sun. But in the atom, we have the same nucleus, which would be a sun. And right, Alec, we have the whole system of electrons moving around in orbits of their own. So there's a replication of both of these concepts in the universe. Captain Ron, jump in on this because this is a valuable conversation.
It is. I think that, again, we're putting our human view on this to assume that they're going to look like us or have hands or anything similar to us at all. Look at the diversity. The biodiversity on our planet alone is immense. So you can imagine, given enough time, millions of years, billions of years, which many planets are ahead of us, you could imagine that a different form of life form could evolve. So I think it might be a little short-sighted to think that they're going to be similar in nature to us.
Alec, a closing comment from you. Appreciate your time.
Yes, there is a famous book called Last and First Men. I recommend it to you gentlemen to read. It is a classic piece of science fiction. It is available from Dover Books. And this explains the 5 million year history of intelligent life on the planet. It's very interesting when it comes to my theory, of course.
Wow. Well, Alec, thank you. I mean, we bring intelligence to the audience, not by us, but by the callers. So thank you for being so focused on this subject. The name of the book, again, is, just give it to us clearly so we can hear it again. Go ahead.
And Last Men. It's a piece from the 1930s.
Oh, okay.
Which, by the way, a very fast comment, a 15-second comment.
Go ahead, sir.
In the book, at the very beginning, he starts with the 19th and 20th century, and he works his way up 5 million years. And basically, it's a continuing humanoid form, plus or minus extra digits, extra abilities, but basically humanoid.
That's amazing. We appreciate all this information that we're hearing here. Let's continue as we move to...
That's getting written 100 years ago. That's incredible.
Yeah. No, it is amazing. Trying to get through the callers here, and I say it with respect because their time is important too. We now go to Danny in the Bronx. Good morning to you, and thanks for being with us this morning. I know it's... okay, he's gone. Pamela from New Jersey, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. I was a preteen, mere child, but my parents were eyewitnesses. They were coming home, which I think is one of the most extraordinary UFO sightings ever, was the 1966 Wanacue Reservoir in New Jersey sighting. We had a river by our house, and they were coming home, and everybody got out of their cars and saw the oval, cigar-shaped, it's been described as also, bluish-white hovering object in the sky. And it not only covered that area, it went from town to town, Wanacue, Pumpkin Lakes, and it landed in some say, my parents didn't witness this, they were on the other side of it. They say it landed, and it showed a beam, and I never heard of that North Bergen one in the 70s. That's new to me.
That is amazing, yes.
It's very similar to that. And I've come to the conclusion, after being on this planet for a while, and the drone incident in New Jersey, I'm thinking, wow, how naive I've been. I really do believe that this is, because that was near the Picatinny military base.
Correct, yes.
I don't think it's a coincidence that we've had an issue with the Interstate 80 caving in, possibly from, I believe, the vibrations of maybe where these drones are settling in, nesting, and causing a vibration on the highway, causing these mine shafts to collapse from the Revolutionary War. And we were never told specifically what the heck was going on for 4 months of hell in New Jersey. And it's so obvious now. We just got a report 2 weeks ago that they were doing a huge maneuver of drones in South Jersey. The government,
amazing.
The government told us about this one. But I believe, of course, since World War II, we had the V2 rocket. Germany was on the cusp of so many things that I believe it's all connected. And I think drones have been around forever, and they're just coming out with the advanced technology. And we've been so naive, and all these sightings, and all of us thinking, and listen, I'm not saying that there aren't things existing out in space. You know, I keep an open mind about all kinds of things.
We appreciate that,
our advanced technology is more advanced than we ever dreamt.
Wow, Pamela, you've said a lot there, and I'm 100% in accordance with what you're talking about, from the Wanakee Reservoir to all the things happening out there. And it's amazing. We still, obviously, the understatement, I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona, but all the people back in the New York metro area that are listening proudly, we never got an answer on this drone thing. So let's not give up. But Captain Ron, Pamela's testifying to some multiple topics here. I'd like to hear your response to this. This is interesting.
Well, I agree. She touched on the idea that these drones have probably been around a lot longer than we've commonly known them to exist. I think, obviously, each and every country probably has secret military things that they're developing, and they don't release. So by the time they come out, the military's had them for a long time. So I completely agree with that idea.
Totally incredible stuff on this radio station. Pamela, if you're still with us, you get the last word as respect to our callers. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I myself, I don't think it's a mystery anymore. And, you know, the 1952 sighting, which I think is really something in Washington, D.C., I think that was, you know, they were playing around with things. I mean, after all, people don't, you know, we had some extraordinary things coming out of World War II. The V2 rocket and all, you know, jets were invented right after that. And let's not forget, like Hedy Lamarr, the Hollywood actress, invented cell phones.
She sure did. Pamela, that could be a story. That could be a whole story for a whole radio show, because you're right. The beautiful, talented actress, Hedy Lamarr, she developed lots of things, the GPS-type concepts, the radio. She had so much to do, as you said, with cell phones. This is amazing.
Right,
totally
right.
incredible.
So it really opened my eyes to, wow, of course. And then, you know, we were put through this craziness of the last 4 months, and the government kept telling us, oh, not to worry. Yeah, right.
Not to worry. Pamela, thank you.
Right.
I pray for you, and thank you for your interest. And I say pray for you because we need more people like yourself to open up our minds with subjects like this. And you're testifying here on the Dr. Sky Experience. We appreciate it. Have a great holiday weekend as we get back to subjects and give our special guest, Captain Ron, you get the last word, my friend, as we go to the bottom of the hour. I appreciate your time, and let me go ahead and ask you to give us a synopsis of the event and how people can get in touch with you, etc., on and on.
Yeah, the event's going to be amazing. We've got 63 speakers. We've got lectures, workshops, intensives. We've got 10 different panels. It's just going to be an incredible weekend. We also have 12 different prominent podcasters there. We have 5 world premiere films that are documentaries about these topics. So there's just a lot happening at the same time. And you can get all that information at contactinthedesert.com. You can find me on there. You can find everything about Beyond Contact on there as well.
Well, with your permission, we can see if we can work it out. It's entirely up to you as the person who's behind all this. It'd be awesome to do the Dr. Sky Experience as a live show for listeners across America, and I think that would add to the audience here who may not get to hear these individuals. So that's a possibility with you're okay.
It'd be incredible. I'd love it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
That'd be nice, Mario. So let me ask you this. Does the event move to different locations, or is this pretty much the nesting place for the next few years, as far as you can tell us?
Well, right now it's nested right where it is. Like I said, it used to be out in the desert, and then they moved it into this beautiful hotel. People seem to love it there. We've kind of found our home there, I think. So for now, it's there.
Okay, one or two more questions from myself here, and I want to know your experience with Roswell. I've spoken there, blah, 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 but this is about you. Give us your take of what really, in your mind, from all the collective experience you've had with people, what did happen in that July of 47? And let me hear it.
Well, I'm glad you're bringing up Roswell, because people often ask me, like, what my favorite case is, whatever, and it feels very almost cliche to say Roswell because it's the most famous case. But I do think it's one of the most strongest cases. And if you read the work from Don Schmidt or Thomas, those guys have done incredible research. They have hundreds of direct eyewitnesses. There are so many pieces to that story that fit the narrative just perfectly that I find it extremely compelling. From the very initial guy that found the material to we have deathbed confessions 50 years later from people that were in the military that left this behind because they didn't want their granddaughter to know that we're not alone. The fact that somebody would do something like that is very compelling to me, and I think Roswell really did happen. I really do. That's the most compelling case in my view.
I hope we talk about it again with you as we move to the bottom of the hour. Captain Ron, co-owner, producer, proud to say it, of Contact in the Desert, host of Beyond Contact. It's a privilege and honor, sir, to listen to you, and you've really enlivened the audience here with the number of calls, and I'm sure we'll continue to get those on the other side of the hard break here at the bottom of the hour. Thank you, Captain Ron, for being with us. More to come here on the Dr. Sky Experience as we move toward this next hour and the top of that hour, and thanking you for being with us.
Hey, man, good to hear you.
Artemis, I can't thank you enough, my friend, and I understand from our producer, Tony, you're taking a lot of extra time because you just finished a gig that went over, and we were looking to have you in the first hour. But, hey, man, you're here with us, and I can't thank you enough. I mean, how's it going for you, sir? Just tell us about where you were playing. And
What should I call you, Dr. Sky?
Just call me what you did. That's fine. Or just call me friend, brother. There you go.
Can I actually say Dr. Sky?
You can, and you did an amazing promo for one of those interviews we did a heck of a long time ago, brother, and I'm always grateful for that. But
I love you, man, and it's so good to be hello world. It's like you're number one. This is number one, New York City, center of the universe, and yeah, I did a gig with my bluegrass band today.
Awesome.
We're called Bobby and the Dentones. Bobby Denton was on the Grand Ole Opry, and then that was from 6 to 8 o'clock at Lake James, North Carolina. Wow. And then I'm in Black Mountain, North Carolina on Cherry Street, and we played the world-famous Town Pump, which there was a movie done here. Are you familiar with 3 billboards outside of Missouri?
No, I'm not, and that's why we have you. Tell me more about this. Go ahead.
It was a Sam Rockwell, Frances McDormand, Woody Harrelson movie.
Okay, it's in the back of my head. Now I'm kind of getting awake here, a little bit. But go ahead, tell us about it.
Sam Rockwell, the place we played tonight, there was a scene in the movie where Sam Rockwell got his ass beat. So it's world famous, but we love you, Doctor, and thanks for having us on. I'm just standing here with some friends on Cherry Street.
I really got to say thank you again. It's late for you, but hey, you sound like you just said like we were doing this at 12 o'clock noon, so we'll carry on. But again, this is interesting. We talked a long time ago about the band and the history of the band. I mean, this is so amazing. Obviously, in many people's minds, the best Southern rock and roll band ever, no doubt about it. Obviously, you and your organization and the band suffered this tragic, and I hate to be on the negative side, but this movie that I want to tell people about, and I know you'll go into it in great detail. I just watched it again last night, so I'm fluent in this. It's a DVD that came out, if I'm correct, in 2020 on Blu-ray DVD and an exceptional soundtrack called Street Survivors. And it goes back to this story that, if you don't mind, sir, just talk a little bit about this, because you're a Marine, not just was a Marine. You're a United States Marine, Semper Fi. I was Army, but hey, this is about you. Talk about that moment, because what I watched in that video, oh my God, I don't know how anybody could have even survived that particular crash. Describe to us in some detail what went on there. This is horrible.
Okay, Doctor. That was my third airplane crash, and the movie had to be made. The fans of Lynyrd Skynyrd are not getting younger, and I wanted to tell the story and make sure that they understood that my friends, as we were going down and we knew we were going to crash and we were out of fuel and we were gliding, my friends met their deaths with honor, and they were courageous. And I wanted the world to know that. And there was some anger against our pilots because they're the ones that salvoed our fuel, and they didn't take on enough fuel in Greenville, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. We had 400 gallons, and it wasn't enough to make it to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We were on a 95-city world tour. We were going to every city in America. We were going back to Japan. We were going to Europe, of course, and we were going to go to Australia. So we were using our plane. We had our name, stenciled across the nose. It was a 1947 Convair 240, Pratt & Whitney reciprocal. And our plane before that was a Convair 560 that belonged to Jerry Lee Lewis that was Rolls-Royce powered, and it was a 560. And I flew both of the planes, and that 560, the one that Jerry Lee Lewis had, was amazing. The one we crashed, I'll just say it sucked. It was not a good plane. And we were going to, this is one thing, Doctor, that I'd like to stress. We were right in the middle of making some changes. We were going to bring everything out of New York City and bring our offices, our studios, our housing, everything to Jacksonville, Florida. Because Ronnie knew that if $1 million went to New York City, it wasn't going to come back to Jacksonville as $1 million.
Interesting.
And so we were going to change everything. We were going to get rid of the old airplanes. We were going to buy a brand new Learjet that was just big enough for the 7 of us and a pilot. And we could, our fly time would be like 40 minutes instead of 2 hours and 40 minutes. And we would buy 2 brand new tour buses for our road crew and for our girls, because our backup singers, we wanted to give them a place where they could be safe. Our road crew, we wanted to give them a place that they could design the floor plan and they could follow the equipment. If the equipment got there, they'd get there, and we could be, zip, zip, zip. That was the plan.
Yes.
Of course, we had the plane crash, and all of that did not happen. But we had a plan, man. We really wanted to continue. I mean, Ronnie Van Zant and Steve Gaines, they were prolific writers, and the two of them together, I mean, look at the song "You Got That Right." I'm sure you know that song, Doctor.
Oh, I do. Right off the album Street Survivor. You bet.
And think about it, man.
Mm-hmm.
There would have been so many more duets between Ronnie and Steve. And Ronnie, he left his legacy. There's nobody that doesn't know about Ronnie Van Zant. He's worldwide. He's universal. His songs will be here 1,000 years from now. That's why I named my last album Anthems, because he wrote hit songs, hit records, but his songs are anthems, and they'll be here 1,000 years. And, Ronnie, it was his genius, that made this. It was his prolific writing. And, of course, he chose everybody that was in his band. Gary and Leon and Billy and Alan and Steve, they were all handpicked. And the girls, JoJo Billingsley, Leslie Hawkins,
It's
and
amazing.
Of course, great Cassie Yanes.
Well, God bless. It's amazing, Artemis, because this is interesting. I want people to go, and if they want to really see what's going on here, this very well developed, and I don't even want to call it a documentary. It's just a memorial to, and the name of the entire DVD, Street Survivors, the true story of the Leonard Skinner plane crash. I mean, this goes, I was just a young guy then. I remember this. I was, obviously shocked like everybody with the sudden deaths and sad deaths of Ronnie Van Zant, Steve Gaines, Cassie Gaines, Steve's sister, Dean Kilpatrick, Captain McCreary, and First Officer William Gray. But am I correct? There were 26 people on board, but there were 20 survivors. Am I correct in that assessment, or do I have that even right? I hope I do.
Yeah, me and 19 others.
Yeah.
But I got to say, Doctor, thank you so much for saying their names.
You bet. And blessings, right. And I want to remind people, Artemis, if you have a phone, if you have a question, try to get we can get a few in, hopefully. If you have a question for our very special guest, and all of them are special, Artemis Pyle, the drummer of the iconic band, of course, Leonard Skinner, the number 1-800-848-9222. But as a testimonial here, and you're testifying in a memorial, this is something, I mean, God bless you. I mean, from the video, I can't imagine how I'd have to be, frosty, even though I'm wounded. And the story goes on what? I mean, you're pulling as many people out of the plane as possible. The plane's in shambles. And you do what? You have to trek across to try to find help across the swamp. And you come across real quickly somebody's house, and you weren't greeted with kindness at the original inception. Talk about that for a minute. That was pretty scary.
Well, I approached the farmhouse, and I'm covered in blood, and I look like Charles Manson. And, I was a creepy-looking guy, and this guy was protecting his family. That's all he was doing. Johnny Moat is his name. He was a 19-year-old chicken farmer, and he looked like Little Abner. And Johnny was, protecting his family, and he fired. I was stumbling, and he said, stop, and I couldn't stop. I was stumbling, and he fired, hit me in the left shoulder.
Jeez.
I yelled, plane crash. I fell to the ground. He said, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. He helped me inside his house. The whole family, was there, the aunts, the uncles, grandma, grandpa, the children. They were all in the farmhouse. And, of course, I looked freaky and bloody, but I walked straight to the phone, and I called my wife back in South Carolina, and I said, honey, we've had an airplane crash. There are people gone.
Yes,
I'm alive. I got to go. And it was the whole conversation was less than 30 seconds. She, of course, in the movie you saw, she started, she cried. I was upset too, but she understood that I had to go. And then Johnny Moat drove me back to where I came out of the swamp. And, the rest has been pretty much documented. It's documented in that movie. And, people ask me, is the movie accurate? Why would I make, when I was being sued for doing the movie, the judge asked me, why would you make a bad movie about your friends?
Exactly. I mean, that's insane. Right. So it is as true as life because you experience it.
Right. Making a bad movie. And I'm very proud of the movie. We had $1,800,000 for our budget, and we were being sued the whole damn time.
That's crazy.
I flew back and forth to L.A. about 8 times, and I'm very proud of what we did. The young actors and actresses that portrayed all of us in our 20s, they were doing a movie, Doctor, that could have been shelved. If we would have lost the lawsuit, that film would have never been seen. But because the judge said, Artemis, you have a right to tell your own story, that shut them down. So we won the lawsuit. We did the movie, and the rest is
there you go.
Yesterday.
Well, Artemis, we're coming up to a break here. But again, ladies and gentlemen, a legend in rock and roll, the drummer of the iconic band, Leonard Skinner, joins us to the top of the hour. If you do have a question or comment, we're still available to try to get you on the air. But equally important is his story and a DVD that I encourage everybody out there to look into about the heroic actions of Artemis Pyle and others, the DVD entitled Street Survivors. We'll be right back after these announcements as we continue to move toward the top of the hour on this Easter Passover weekend, which we wish you the best for health and happiness.
At Capella University, you can learn at your own pace with our FlexPath learning format. Take 1 or 2 courses at a time and complete as many as you can in a 12-week billing session. With FlexPath, you can even finish the bachelor's degree you started in 22 months for $20,000. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu. Fastest 25% of students. Cost varies by pace, transfer credits, and other factors. Fees apply.
Let's go to the phone calls right now, Artemis, and let's say good morning to John in Long Island. You're on with Artemis Pyle. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Artemis, just want to thank you for your contribution and your versatile connection to the band to make this part of the American soundtrack. It will always be on forever in history, like you said, for 1,000 years, and your input is greatly appreciated. Artemis, I want to ask you, I know you mentioned, I don't want to sidetrack on the conversation and what happened with the plane crash, but I understand when the crashed, you struggle out and you wander on someone's land and they mistaken you for like some kind of invader of the property and you got shot. Is that true? I do recall you did mention that. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Are you asking me if it's true that the farmer shot me?
Yes. Yes.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
Yeah,
that's interesting, John. Go ahead.
As I said just before the break, I'm covered in blood. I look like Charles Manson. I come, walking up in his barnyard. He's got a whole family there, children, grandma, grandpa, uncle, Aunt Dodo. He's got everybody, and he's just protecting his family. And, he asked me to stop, but I was stumbling. I couldn't stop. And so when he fired, it hit me in the left shoulder. It spun me around. And I don't blame the guy at all.
Well, John, this is interesting. Your closing comment, because we got the lines really hot and lighting up here, as you would expect. Go right ahead if you have a closing question or comment.
The will to live and what you experience to get out there and survive and get through this and just tell your story. It's quite an accomplishment. And I thank you for all your contribution of your music and what you did, and so especially with this documentary. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Appreciate your time, too.
The thing is, I owe it all to Ronnie Van Zant. His prolific writing. I'm just like his little drummer boy. But I'm the last living member. And guys, I want you to know, by the way, I'm driving a 45-foot rig right now, a big a sprint, double wide, double long Sprinter and a double axle trailer. I'm leaving the gig and I'm going east on I-40. I'm about to jump up. But Ronnie, his prolific writing gave me the opportunity. I'm in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I never even dreamed of that.
That's amazing and a great accomplishment.
Because of Ronnie, there's a lot of drummers that are better than I. There's thousands of drummers. I could list guys that are so much better than I. But I was in the right place, the right time. I loved the music. I fit right in. I came from Charlie Daniels and the Marshall Tucker Band and the Allman Brothers guys, and it was a Southern rock revolution. And
you bet. That's amazing.
I got to be part of it, and I feel really lucky to have been included.
Well, Artemis, a tribute, of course, to Ronnie Van Zant, as he would say, and you know better, music is my best friend, and if I were to leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? And, of course, we're doing that into all those that perished in that horrible event. One more phone call as we go to the top of the hour. We say good morning to Robert in Long Island. And, Robert, good morning. You're on with Artemis Pyle, drummer of legendary band Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Good morning.
This morning.
Thank you. Did you guys get along with, collaborate, and creatively produce any other songs with other bands?
Well, I can say that Ronnie would have collaborated with everybody. At the time, Ronnie was really pushing he was pushing his brother's band, 38 Special. So he was kind of producing on the 38 Special records and everything. And, had Ronnie lived, I guarantee you, at this point, he would be collaborating with like Chris Stapleton. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's amazing. Robert, you have a closing question or comment as the clock runs to the top of the hour? Go ahead.
Yes. Did you interact with country western at all?
Well, I love all kinds of music, from country to jazz, rock and rock fusion, southern rock. I love classical. Today at 6 o'clock, right off of Lake James at a place called Bones Joe, I played with a bluegrass band with guys from the Grand Ole Opry, Bobby Denton on banjo, and we played for 2 hours bluegrass, and then I left and drove up to Black Mountain, North Carolina, and played with my rock band. And we just finished a while ago, and that's why I missed my interview. I was on stage jamming, and I just totally thought, well, I've got plenty of time. But anyway, I hope that answers your question.
Oh, well, thank you, Robert, for your commentary and your question here. We appreciate you and all the callers. But in closing here, as we wrap it up here, and I want to say thank you. Here's a multitasker, ladies and gentlemen. He's driving, and he's listening, and he's talking, and he's answering questions. But seriously, on a very serious and somber note, our tribute here to those that lost their lives in that very, very sad event that changed the course of history.
That means a lot.
Absolutely, brother.
I want to tell you,
go ahead.
In honor of that, I just entered the Pisgah National Forest, and I'm going down what is called Old Fort Mountain, and it's a great big mountain.
And we may lose you on the phone.
Fort.
Yeah.
And it was hit really hard by Helene.
Yes.
And my son lives in Old Fort. So we've been doing concerts to raise money and awareness, for all the people that were wiped out. I mean, it was massive loss of life. Thousands of homes lifted up off their foundations and went down the river. We got hit with trillions of gallons of water. It's something we just did not expect. And, so we use music. And as you know, Doctor, music is the language of the universe.
It sure is. Say that right.
We use it to raise money for cancer, for children, for firefighters, for police officers, and also for flood victims. So, thank you for the opportunity to talk about it.
Well, Artemis, I hope we can do this again in a future iteration and talk about the band itself. But today is our true respect and paying our respect. And I want people to, again, I'm going to say it again because this is something that people need to see about. I call it your heroism. You probably won't agree with me, but obviously others did something too. But like in the military, we all know, Semper Fi to you, I was Army. All gave some and some gave all. But in this particular case, the DVD, both in Blu-ray, DVD, and a soundtrack, I recommend people get Street Survivors, the true story of the Leonard Skinner plane crash. And I hope, sir, that we can talk with you again. And God bless you and your family and the band and the memorial that we're doing here and the tribute to those that lost their lives. Thank you for joining us, Artemis Pyle of Leonard Skinner.
May I just add one thing?
Please.
Our album that we released last year, it's called Anthems. And Dolly Parton sang Freebird. Sammy Hagar sang Simple Man.
Great.
Billy Ray Cyrus sang Call Me the Breeze. We had 14 really great voices of Nashville and of country and music. Sweet Home Alabama was sung by Ronnie Brooks from Brooks and Dunn. Ronnie Dunn from Brooks and Dunn. And so it was all as a tribute to Ronnie, his band, and his music. And we didn't do it to make money because all of the songs were written by my friends that are up in rock and roll heaven, Southern rock heaven. And all of the royalty and everything goes to the children and grandchildren of my friends, you know, Ronnie Van Zant, Steve Gaines, Cassie Gaines, Dean Kilpatrick, you know, Leon Wilkeson, Billy Powell,
sure,
Gary Rossington, everybody, and of course Ronnie. All of those songs were written by those people, and that money goes straight to heaven. So for the children, so we did the album because it was the right thing to do, not because we just wanted to make a bunch of money. But, you know, getting Dolly Parton.
Oh, that's big. I mean, this is monumental.
And
right.
Do you remember Gary Rossington?
Not me personally. I should, but I'm always honest.
He co-wrote Sweet Home Alabama.
Well, then I should I should do digging and homework. But Artemis, as you drive into the mountains, we obviously drive into the cosmos. I want to thank you, brother, for being part of our show, and I hope we remain in touch in the future. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the Dr. Sky Experience. We talk about many subjects, as you can hear. Never enough time, but we appreciate your time as we wish you the best for this particular holiday weekend, Easter and Passover. Blessings, health, and happiness to you and your family. And we'll see you here next week on the Dr. Sky Experience. And thank you, Tony, for navigating this powerful Starship Radio Beacon 77 WABC.